In parts of Sweden and Norway, office parking lots have electrical outlets built into every single space. Not for charging cars, but for plugging in a heater that warms the engine before anyone even walks outside. That's just one of 21 specific Nordic solutions to everyday winter problems, and today I'm giving you every single one. The ones that fix the actual daily friction winter creates, not just the big heating systems most videos already cover. Number 12 is the fix for a problem almost nobody realizes has a name, and it happens every single time you check your mail in cold weather. And number 18 is the cheapest item on this entire list, solving a problem that quietly damages your health without most people ever connecting the two. Here's the thread connecting all 21. None of them are about big infrastructure. They're about the small, specific, repeated frustrations winter creates every single day, each one with an actual, practical fix that most of the world simply never adopted. If this is already making you think about your own winter routine differently, go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you're new here. This channel exists to hand you the real system behind Nordic living, and it genuinely helps to have you here for the rest of it. Let's start with number 1, the problem waiting for you, the second you walk through your own front door. Item 1. A slatted, perforated boot tray at the entryway, not a flat mat. I used a flat mat for years, and every winter it sat in a permanent puddle of melted snow, doing nothing but relocating the mess from the floor onto itself. A slatted tray lets melted snow and ice drip through into a hidden reservoir below, keeping boots elevated above standing water. The shift: swap a flat mat for a raised, slatted one. It costs about the same and solves the actual problem instead of just moving it. Item 2. A small heated boot and glove dryer plugged in overnight. Wet wool mittens and boots that never fully dry between wears develop a specific damp smell, and forcing your feet into still damp boots the next morning is genuinely miserable. I resisted buying one for years, assuming it was an unnecessary gadget, until a particularly brutal January finally convinced me otherwise. The shift: a basic model costs relatively little and solves a problem you're currently just enduring every single morning. Item 3. Wool base layers and socks instead of cotton. Cotton holds moisture against skin once you start sweating from exertion or overheated indoor spaces. And wet cotton loses insulating power almost completely. Wool retains warmth even damp, and it builds up far less static electricity than synthetic fabrics, which matters more than people realize once winter's dry air turns every doorknob into a small shock. I switched my own base layers to wool years ago and genuinely can't go back. Item 4. A small indoor hygrometer, $15 or less, monitoring humidity year-round. Most people have no idea their indoor air drops to uncomfortably dry levels every winter once heating runs constantly. I didn't either, until I finally bought one and realized my apartment was sitting well below what's genuinely comfortable. The shift: a hygrometer tells you objectively rather than guessing, and once you can see the number, the next 2 items make a lot more sense. Item 5. A humidifier paired directly with your heating system in the coldest months. Heated air holds less moisture, and dry air is directly connected to dry skin, static shocks, and that scratchy throat feeling so many people just accept as a normal winter symptom. Once I started running a humidifier consistently, several small winter annoyances I'd stopped even questioning simply disappeared. Item 6. An engine block heater with a timer, plugged in overnight, or set to activate an hour before you actually leave. This is standard across Sweden and Norway specifically. Many office parking lots there have dedicated outlets built into every space for exactly this. I remember the first time I stepped into a car that had been quietly warming for an hour before I ever touched the door handle, and genuinely wondering why this wasn't universal, everywhere, cold enough to need it. Item 7. A wool blanket kept permanently in the car, not just during genuine emergencies you're actively planning for. I used to think this was slightly paranoid, until I was stuck on a delayed road once, engine off, in weather cold enough that the blanket mattered within 20 minutes. Item 8. Proper winter tires. Swapped seasonally rather than running all-season tires year-round. This is legally required across much of Scandinavia during winter months, and for good reason. The difference in actual stopping distance on ice between winter-specific tread and all-season tread is significant, not marginal. Item 9. An ice scraper and snow brush kept somewhere genuinely accessible. By the door. Not buried in a trunk under other gear. This sounds almost too obvious to mention, and yet I spent years scraping a windshield with an old gift card because the actual scraper was never where I needed it to be. Item 10. A small container of salt or grit kept right at your own entryway steps, not purchased in a panic after someone's already slipped. I keep mine in an old coffee tin by the door, specifically because remembering to buy it during an actual ice storm never once worked out well for me. Item 11, and this connects directly to something we've discussed before on this channel. A proper enclosed entry vestibule, even a small one, absorbing the worst of the cold air exchange before it ever reaches your main living space. If you don't have one architecturally, even a curtain near the door recreates part of the same effect. Item 12, the one I promised, and it's a genuinely tiny fix for a draft most people never trace to its actual source. A brush seal fitted directly onto your mail slot. Older European doors often have these built in. A simple bristled flap that lets mail through while blocking the direct line of cold air. A bare mail slot otherwise creates every single time wind hits your front door. I didn't realize my own mail slot was a meaningful draft source until I finally checked it with my hand on a windy evening and felt exactly how much cold air was pouring straight through. Item 13. A door sweep along the bottom of every exterior door, checked and replaced when it visibly compresses or wears thin. This is a small, cheap fix that stops the very specific draft that sneaks in along the floor and makes an entire room feel colder than its actual temperature suggests. Item 14. Insulating any exposed pipes running through unheated spaces, a garage, a crawl space, an exterior wall cavity. Frozen and burst pipes are a genuinely expensive problem, and pipe insulation sleeves cost very little relative to what a single burst pipe repair actually runs. Item 15. A daylight lamp, specifically designed to mimic natural outdoor light, used for 20 to 30 minutes each morning during the darkest months. This is a huge, mainstream product category across Scandinavia, specifically because of how short winter daylight genuinely gets. I use mine every single morning from November through February at my desk, without really thinking about it anymore. Item 16. A sunrise simulation alarm clock, gradually brightening before your actual wake time, rather than jolting you awake in complete darkness. This connects directly to the daylight lamp above. Together, they address the fact that winter mornings simply don't provide the natural light cue your body is used to relying on. Item 17. A small emergency kit kept by your front door specifically. A flashlight, hand warmers, an extra layer. Separate from whatever's in your car. I keep mine in a basket by my own entryway, restocked once a year, specifically because a power outage during a winter storm is not the moment you want to be searching for batteries. Item 18, the one I promised, the cheapest fix on this entire list. A simple fabric draft snake, a stuffed tube laid along the bottom of any door without a proper sweep installed. This costs almost nothing to make yourself, and it solves the exact same floor-level draft as item 13, just without any installation at all. Item 19, rotating your seasonal gear properly. Winter boots, gloves, and heavy coats stored accessibly at the front of a closet during the actual season, with summer equivalents moved to the back, rather than digging through mismatched seasons every single morning. Item 20. A specific designated spot for wet umbrellas near the entry, with a small tray beneath it. Rather than propping a dripping umbrella against whatever wall happens to be nearest the door. And item 21, tying back to something we've discussed before on this channel. Airing rooms out briefly, even in the depths of winter, rather than sealing a home completely for months. It feels counterintuitive to open a window in freezing weather, but stale, humid indoor air trapped for months creates its own separate set of problems that a few minutes of genuine airflow twice a day genuinely resolves. None of these 21 require major renovation or serious money. Most cost very little, and several cost nothing at all, beyond the habit of actually doing them. What they have in common is treating winter's small daily frustrations as solvable problems. The same way Nordic culture treats the big ones, not something you simply grit your teeth through for 5 months every year. Tell me in the comments which of these 21 you're missing right now. I read every single comment. And if you know someone who treats winter as something to just survive rather than something with actual solutions, send this to them. I know a full list of 21 can feel overwhelming to actually implement. So let me be honest about priority and realistic obstacles, because I don't think pretending this is all equally urgent for everyone actually helps. If you don't own a car, items 6 through 9 simply don't apply to you at all, and that's completely fine. Skip straight to the entryway and indoor comfort items instead, which matter regardless of whether you drive. If you're renting and can't install a mail slot brush seal or a proper door sweep, the draft snake from item 18 recreates a meaningful portion of the same benefit without touching the door itself, and it travels with you to your next home besides. For anyone in a climate that gets cold, but not genuinely severe, no regular ice, no need for legally mandated winter tires. Several of these items scale down naturally rather than becoming irrelevant. The hygrometer and humidifier combination, items 4 and 5, still matters in almost any heated indoor space during colder months, regardless of how extreme the outdoor temperature actually gets, because indoor heating dries air out the same way everywhere. The daylight lamp, item 15, matters most specifically in places with genuinely short winter daylight hours. So its priority for you depends heavily on your actual latitude rather than your temperature. I want to address the block heater specifically, item 6, because it tends to generate the most skepticism from anyone unfamiliar with it. Isn't that just wasting electricity to solve a minor inconvenience? I understand the instinct, and I had exactly the same reaction the first time I encountered one. Here's the actual case for it beyond simple comfort. A cold engine experiences measurably more wear during startup than a pre-warmed one, and a warm engine also reaches efficient operating temperature faster, which means less fuel burned running rich during those first cold minutes. It's not purely a comfort indulgence. There's a genuine mechanical and efficiency argument underneath the convenience, which is part of why an entire region adopted it at scale rather than treating it as a luxury. I also want to be honest about which of these 21 I still fail at consistently myself, because I don't think presenting this as a list I execute flawlessly is honest or useful. The umbrella tray, item 20, is the one I genuinely still get wrong most winters. I know exactly where it should live by my door, and I still prop a dripping umbrella against the nearest wall more often than I'd like to admit, purely out of habit built over years before I ever thought about it properly. Knowing the fix and consistently executing it are genuinely two different skills, and I don't think anyone, including me, does all 21 of these perfectly every single day. If you're deciding where to actually start rather than attempting all 21 simultaneously, here's the honest priority order based on cost versus daily impact. The hygrometer and draft snake first. Items 4 and 18, because both cost very little and address problems, dry air and floor-level drafts, that affect nearly every room in a home simultaneously, not just one specific point of friction. The boot tray and entryway organization, items 1 and 9 through 11. Second, because they address the specific daily friction of actually entering and leaving your home in winter weather, which happens multiple times every single day regardless of season severity. Everything car-related, items 6 through 8. Only if you actually drive and live somewhere cold enough to warrant it. And the daylight lamp, item 15, prioritized based on your actual latitude and how dramatically your daylight hours shrink specifically, rather than assuming everyone needs it equally. I think what actually connects all 21 of these, beyond any individual fix, is a specific attitude toward discomfort that I didn't fully appreciate until I'd spent years watching people elsewhere treat certain winter frustrations as simply unavoidable. Wet boots, dry skin, a cold car, static shocks, the kind of low-grade annoyances people mention almost as small talk, the way you'd mention traffic, as if nothing could actually be done about any of it. Nordic winter culture, at least the version I grew up inside, never fully accepted that framing. Cold and dark were treated as real, solvable engineering and habit problems, not as 5 months of gritted teeth endurance you simply had to get through every single year. None of this makes Nordic winters magically pleasant. They're still long, still dark, still genuinely difficult in ways no boot tray or humidifier fully resolves. What 21 small fixes like these actually do is remove the compounding layer of unnecessary friction sitting on top of a season that's already hard enough without it. The wet socks, the static shocks, the cold car, the dry throat. freeing up whatever patience and energy you have left for the parts of winter that genuinely can't be engineered away.